If you're running a business or building a personal brand, you probably heard the phrase, the riches are in the niches. This means that by focusing on a smaller, well-defined market or service, you can position yourself as the go-to expert and benefit from this financially. So instead of spreading yourself thin across too many opportunities, you specialise, and in doing so you attract higher quality work, build a stronger reputation, and ultimately grow more efficiently. So how do you decide how to niche down? When we first started Candle Digital, like most businesses, we weren't particularly selected by the client work that we took on. Anything that smelt like e-learning, we were interested. And honestly, I think that's a natural part of starting any business. You're going to go where the work is. So when you're first getting up and running, you've got to figure out lots of different things. What type of clients you like to work with, where you can add the most value, who has the right kind of budget, and what do you enjoy doing? But as time went on, we quickly realised that niching down is a critical factor in becoming a better business. So when you align with a niche, you get known for something. You get better at your craft because the work becomes more repeatable. And as you repeat that work, the ratchet really starts to turn. So what do I mean by that? Well, more exposure leads to better work. And better work leads to more exposure, and that cycle can continue. So as a keen climber, I was always told to wear climbing shoes that are slightly uncomfortable. Why? Because they help you grip better and help you get the most from your efforts as you're scaling that wall. Now that same advice applies to niching. If your niche makes you wince a little, makes you feel slightly uncomfortable and a bit closed in, and you think, oh, I don't know if I've niched down too far, then arguably you're probably in the right place, at least in terms of size of the market. So recently I've discovered there are actually 3 categories of niches. The first is narrow to wide. Now this is where you offer a specific service but apply it to a broad market. An example could be an ISO 9001 consultancy for any type of growing business. The second is wide to narrow. So in wide to narrow, you offer a very general service, but focus on a very specific market. So an example could be leadership training, but it's exclusively for female-led startups in the north of England, for example. And finally, you've got narrow to narrow. So this is where you provide a highly specific service to a very targeted audience. An example might be carbohydrate-free nutrition coaching for vegan tennis players. So if you're thinking about niching, or you've already defined one perhaps, it's worth asking yourself, what category of niche do you fit in? Because this decision affects a lot of different things. The first one is scalability. So what are the universal elements of your service? And how do you adjust them for that specific niche? Market fit is another. Is there demand for what you offer? And how can you validate that across different sectors? And finally, there's communication and positioning. Explaining a niche service to a broader audience can be tough. So how do you make it clear and appealing? So here's the big question for you. What category of niche do you fit into? Is it narrow to wide to narrow, or narrow to narrow? And what does that mean for your business? Over to you.